right now. A man arrested for threatening the life of a Bonaventure alum. Plus, the Buffalo Diocese filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And love is in the air on St. Bonaventure's campus this Valentine's Day. SBU-TV starts right now.
Love is in the air. Good morning. I'm Rob Barbieri.
And I'm Madeline Edwards. Happy Valentine's Day, Rob. Now, let's get right to it. Allegheny woke up under a blanket of snow this morning. According to weather.com, sun is headed our way this afternoon. The high is 16 degrees and the low is 0, so make sure you bundle up on your way to the Bonaventure-Davidson game in the RC tonight.
Now over to Michaela Hyman for some developing news out of Buffalo.
Developing out of Buffalo, FBI arrested and charged Paul Lubin, cyber-stalking WKBW reporter Charlie Specht. 2 years ago, Specht broke the story of the Buffalo Diocese sexual abuse scandal that affected over 200 victims. For over 6 months, Lubinecki left voicemails threatening Specht's career, his life, and his family. If you recall back to December 4th, Bishop Richard Malone resigned his position within the Buffalo Diocese. According to WKBW, later that day, Lubinecki left Specht a voicemail saying, quote, "You destroyed the Diocese of Buffalo and Bishop Malone. I am going to destroy you." If convicted, Lubinecki could face up to 5 years in prison. When asked for a quote, Specht respectfully declined due to the circumstances of the investigation. Before the investigating, the scandals, and the threats, Charlie Specht began his journalism career right here at St. Bonaventure University and in this very studio. The 2010 Bonaventure grad spent his time on campus as the editor-in-chief of the Bonaventure, a reporter at SBU-TV, and the captain of the men's rugby team. The decorated investigative journalist has won the 2020 DuPont Columbia Award for his reporting on the sexual abuse scandal. He is also a 2-time winner for the New York State Associated Press Award, as well as the Regent Edward R. Morrow Award for his investigative journalism. But most importantly, Specht is a husband and a father. Take a look at your screens for our social medias. We will keep you updated with all things Charlie Specht and Lubinecki's investigation. For SBU-TV, I'm Michaela Hyman. New, now, next.
Now, the Buffalo Diocese is expected to announce their filing of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Zachary Murphy went to find out how this would affect our area.
Following the resignation of the former Bishop of Buffalo, Richard Malone, questions have been asked as to what the future holds for the diocese. Chapter 11 allows the diocese to protect some of their assets and keep the mission of the church going. Father James Vacco, pastor of St. Bonaventure Parish and vicar for Rain of Southern Cattaraugus County, says,
Bishop's official representative to this area.
Father James explains parishes are separate entities to a diocese, but can still be affected by lawsuits against the diocese.
So where a parish might get affected is if in the suit the parish is named.
Even if a parish is not named in a lawsuit, they may still have to pay money if they are indebted to the diocese. Father Pat, who is the pastor of St. Mary's Basilica and St. John's the Evangelist in Olean, says the parishes are not in debt to the diocese.
We're able to maintain our finances. Any debt that we do hold, we would be able to take care of it.
Earlier this month, the Buffalo Diocese announced that Christ the King Seminary will close as a result of financial issues the diocese is facing. The impending closure of Christ the King Seminary in Buffalo is not only a result of the financial issues the diocese is having, but also a result of the declining applicant pool the seminary has had over the past few decades.
It's been an issue, it's been a concern among the diocese, the priests, the clergy, for a number of years.
I'm Zachary Murphy with SBU-TV. New, now, next.
The man charged with threatening Charlie Specht was a teacher at Christ the King Seminary.
Depression is one of the most common mental illnesses in the United States. The National Institute of Mental Health reported 17.3 million adults in the United States suffered from at least one major depressive episode in 2017. Only half of those suffering received treatment. January and February can be the hardest months of the year for those battling depression. Our Brendan O'Leary learned more about depression in our area in the first part of our series on mental health.
From New York State Health Connection data, 4,973 people have died from suicide. 36 deaths occurring in Cattaraugus County, with another 45 hospitalizations due to self-harm. The top 3 most common methods of self-harm in New York being suffocation, firearm use, and poisoning. We called Gara Lester, director of the New York State Suicide Prevention Community and Coalition Initiative, to talk to him about suicide in rural areas.
They typically have higher rates of suicide in rural communities, and there is a rural culture which impacts access to care, help-seeking behaviors, and so on and so forth.
Gara told us that small-town areas in upstate New York have higher rates of suicide than New York City, meaning more individual deaths per 100,000 people, differing from the individual number of deaths in New York City. A possible cause being the economic decline for many small-town areas, businesses moving away and shops closing, leading to many buildings like these on Main Street Olean boarded up and empty. One chief business affected? Farming, part of the culture around many small-town areas. So much so that losing it is like losing a part of yourself. And that, a dilapidated farmhouse, is a common sight around small-town America. Where once 20 to 40 farms populated small towns, now at best you might find 1 to 2. Small farmers, isolated and suffering economically, can end up taking their own life, staging it to look like a farming equipment accident, that family members may get the life insurance. A suicide note, the only thing distinguishing it from being ruled as an accident. Gara says that the number of farming-related suicides are underreported, in the best of circumstances. We also spoke with Amy Mann, clinic director for the Suicide Prevention Coalition, about raising awareness for mental health in the community. She mentioned,
#BeTheOne2, but it's a movement about being the person that reaches out to others when you notice that something is not quite right.
Short for Be the One to Help Save a Life, the movement offers 5 steps to help someone in crisis.
Stay tuned. Next week, Michaela Hyman looks at mental health in schools in part 2 of our dive into mental health here.
What do groundhogs, Valentines, and Black history all have in common? It all happens in February. Here's how St. Bonaventure celebrates Black History Month. This month, the celebration dates back a half a century after the 13th Amendment passed in 1915. Black History Month is an annual celebration of African American history and achievements. We spoke with Black Student Union President Sydney Best to hear what this celebration of culture means to her.
Black History Month to me means a time to look at the entirety of Black culture and the experience as a whole. It is a time for students, Black and other races, to take a time and look at the entire history of America while celebrating it at the same time. SBU has a couple of events that for this month to celebrate Black History Month. We are decorating the Damietta Center as a club. We are also holding an African dance class for students on campus later this month, as well as collaborating with LASSO for a luncheon panel discussion.
If you're interested, a reminder is to check out the decorations in the Damietta Center, and the actual class is Thursday in the Richter Center. Now, coming up, broken equipment in the Quick Center. Our own Emily Weber sat down to find out when the lights will go back on.
And later on, an update on the Bonnie's basketball teams. But first, we spoke to Emma Kostenbader about what love is to her on this Valentine's Day.
When I think of love, I think of my best friends who have been there for me since the word go.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars. Really tall. I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands? Yes. You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
Continuing our coverage of the coronavirus today, the CDC says the virus could last into 2021. The death toll now reaching at least 1,400. Infections top to 65,000. This jump due to people being diagnosed based on symptoms rather than testing positive. These cases of the virus found in more than 25 countries outside of China. 15 cases confirmed in the United States. You can see the 7 states on your screen. The director of the CDC said he doesn't think this outbreak is being controlled.
Right now, there's no evidence to me that this outbreak is at all under control. It's definitely not controlled, and the sooner we can help them get it under control, the better for the whole world.
Many freshmen arrive on campus and believe college is all about having a good time. But what happens when drinking turns into a more serious problem? Roisin Coleman brings you the answers.
Ryan Nation realized he was an alcoholic his junior year at St. Bonaventure. Ryan said he drank every single day. However, Ryan binge drank 2 or 3 times a week.
According to doctors, binge drinking means drinking 5 or more of these 12-ounce drinks in about 2 hours for men. And for women, that's 4 of these.
71% of Bonaventure students say they binge drink. Binge drinking multiple times in a month is considered alcohol abuse. Alcohol abuse is a huge risk factor for alcoholism or alcohol use disorder.
It is possible as an 18 to 24-year-old in that age range, it is possible to actually have a diagnosable alcohol use disorder that requires treatment beyond what we can handle here.
According to the university, there were 200 alcohol violations in 2018. Chris Anderson says there's a link between those violations and more serious drinking problems.
They come to college and this is when they start making the choices and the behavioral choices that is going to send them in that pathway of addiction.
Al-Anon offers a recovery program at Bonaventure for the families and friends of alcoholics. I sat down with members of the program.
A person with a drinking problem can drink until they pass out and then they're not feeling anything, but the person who loves them watches like a slow motion train wreck and often feels they can't do anything about it.
One member had a close tie to a Bonaventure student with a drinking problem.
We had been dealing and uncomfortable with the amount of drinking that we saw.
Al-Anon stands for Alcoholics Anonymous and requires media to keep members unidentified. For SBU-TV, I'm Roisin Coleman.
If you or someone you know at St. Bonaventure has a drinking problem, visit the Center for Student Wellness in Doyle Hall.
The Regis Family Theater shuts its doors on most performances this semester. Our Emily Weber found out why.
The Regis Family Theater in St. Bonaventure's Quick Center for the Arts facing complications as their lighting system is down. According to Quick Center Executive Director, the stage lights in the theater went out early this semester. Scheduled with many performances per semester, a stage that usually sounds something like this will now sound more like this.
Luckily, the staff was able to install a basic lighting system so that simple performances can still take place right here on the front half of the stage. Unfortunately, more technically demanding performances will have to be moved to another venue, but administration, the events office, and the Quick Center staff are all helping to find those.
Mary Frack, dance team advisor and assistant director of recreation and activities on campus, explains how the show will go on for the clubs scheduled to use the theater.
So they're going case by case and making sure that every weekend there's coverage. So for the dance team, they have a few options as to where they can be located. Still ironing that out with some of the executive board, but they're, as a whole, the Quick Center is meeting with each individual group.
They will install the most up-to-date system that will be specifically tailored for the theater. The installation process is expected to take 2 to 3 months. They are working to move this date up to accommodate for as many performances as they can. SBU-TV, new, now, next.
The repairs will cost over $200,000. This money is being provided by a donor. When we come back, we take a look at a Bonaventure legend.
We also dive into how students consume their news. But first, the Bisecs share what love means to them.
It's not just a feeling. Love is work. Love is unconditionally being there for someone.
I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. College students consume the majority of their news through social media. Our Justin Myers explains ways to ensure your information is accurate.
What you really should not do is just believe everything you read on social media or any digital platform.
For college students, social media apps like these have become their main source to get new information, but that doesn't mean it's always accurate. During the week, we went on our own SBU-TV Twitter page to find out where college students get their news from, and the majority said it was Twitter.
I spoke to Jandoli School Dean Aaron Chimple about where students should get their news from.
I would recommend that they get their news from a variety of sources. I think that's your best bet. It's fine if you have a certain political interest or ideology that you're interested in. You want to follow organizations you think are more aligned with your ideology, but I wouldn't just consume that information. You want to consume a broad range of information and from different sources, because what you will see is where they overlap. And that's when you know it's pretty reliable. If multiple news organizations, maybe with some different points of view, are giving you very similar information.
I also spoke to freshman Hunter Jones, about what social media he uses the most and if he would change the way he gets the news.
I'd say I find most of my news definitely on Twitter, even if it's like all fake. You got to be able to look past that stuff, and you can definitely find some valuable stuff for sure. So Twitter and Instagram would be my two. For me, it's just a generational thing. So I think this is it's curated to me and like the news that I want to see. So I would prefer the way I do it now. I don't think I'd really want to go back to like normal media like TV and just like newspapers and stuff like that, because it's really curated, which is what I like about it.
For SBU-TV, I'm Justin Myers. New, now, next.
Another indication for reliable information on social media is if the account has a verified check next to their name.
At St. Bonaventure, a dining hall worker takes pictures of students while they're out at parties. And to this day, many students don't know why he does it. Our own Teddy Caputo sat down with the dining hall worker to find out who the man is behind the mystery.
This is my one friend. He's absolutely hammered and we don't know what to do with him. Can you please just take a picture of him and just be like, dude, this is how you were last night. This is what we dealt with.
His name is Sean Miller, but everyone at St. Bonaventure knows him as Snake. Originally from Cuba, New York, Sean got the nickname from his rugby friends while attending SUNY Fredonia because of his drunken behavior.
When I would walk home, I would slither down the sidewalks and streets. So my team actually saw that and were like, hey, Snake would be a perfect nickname for you. I'm like, okay. And it stuck with me ever since.
After his Fredonia days, he moved to Olean to help support and be closer to his family. Snake works here in the Hickey Dining Hall during the week, but on the weekends, he slithers around the streets of Allegheny trying to find the party. Once he does, he pulls out his camera or his smartphone and he snaps away. This tradition started about 15 years ago after he became known for taking pictures during his time visiting friends at Bonaventure.
I bought myself a cheap camera. I would just go hang out with my friends and I would just start taking pictures for them. I would post them on the Facebook and they'd be like, oh wow. So that's what I did last night. And it just escalated from there.
Although a handful of students may not be comfortable with his antics, all the students I talked to have bought into the tradition and say he's part of the social culture at Bonas.
He doesn't really do anything that bothers me per se, or really anyone that I know, so he's really just kind of going around doing his thing, and we appreciate what he does.
If you follow him on Twitter, you can see all of, like, each freshman to senior class he posts, and I think that's kind of like a really cool memory for people.
Definitely my freshman year, it was kind of different. Over time, you kind of realize that it's all, like, you know, it's all for fun, and it's kind of nice getting your pictures taken because usually your friends are just kind of too drunk to take them for you.
It's not like he takes pictures of people who don't want their picture taken.
After a while, I'm so used to him, man. I thought he was just like the bro. Good to see you, Snake. How you doing? High five.
I'm Teddy Caputo, SBU-TV. New, now, next.
Love is in the air today on St. Bonaventure University's campus. I spoke to faculty and students to discover their definition of love.
What is love? Love is journalism professors Ann Richley.
I always tell people we were best friends, and that's kind of the way the story is. Like, we were friends for a long time before we started dating, and I think, you know, that's one of the keys to a successful relationship. Is
love is business professors Evelyn and Edward Bizek.
Some people say that being in love means that you never have to say I'm sorry, but I think being in love means that you're willing to say I'm sorry all the time.
Love is St. Bonaventure students.
To be totally cheesy, it's that famous passage from the Bible, like, what is love? Love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't boast, it doesn't lie.
I think people overcomplicate love a lot. I think it's something as simple as, you know, caring about someone as much, if not more, than yourself.
I think love is being comfortable with someone. I think it comes in various different forms. It's not just a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
I think that it is applied differently to different kinds of people in your life.
Love to me isn't just one thing or one person or one place. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my 2 golden doodles at home. It's everyone I work with at SBU-TV. It's my friends on the dance team. It's my professors. And most importantly, love is honesty.
And I'm laughing because he said to me at last Wednesday's game, well, you know, there's a game on St. Valentine's Day. Do you want to go? And I was like, well, if you don't want to go, I'm going with somebody else.
You know, Rob, hearing all of these beautiful love stories really warmed my heart on this cold morning. Oh. Yeah, you know, well, coming up, we spoke with SBU-TV's Valentine about sports.
But first, take a listen to what Charlie Randall believes love is.
It's a term that you apply to someone that you care a lot about, but I think it also has different meanings.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We have this like deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
This new lung cancer screening could save your life. Visit SaveByTheScan.org.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to SBU-TV Sports. So glad you're joining us on my holiday. I'm Tommy Valentine. Well, it was a busy week for the Bonnies on the hardwood. Both the men's and women's team had road contests this week. First for the women's team. They dropped a tough one last night at VCU 56-47 despite another brilliant outing from Asia Johnson. She poured in another 17 points. Our Ryan Bolin sat down with Asia leading up to the team's trip down to VCU to find out what's been going well for her as of late.
I'm here with women's Bonnies guard Asia Johnson. Asia, thanks for taking the time to speak with us today.
It's no problem, man.
You scored double-digit points in 70% of the games so far this season. What do you attribute that kind of success to?
Just being in the gym every day. Like, even if I had 20, I was still in the gym the next day. It's always about perfecting my craft.
You seem to have the ability to take over games in the fourth quarter. Like against GW, you outscored GW 12-6 by yourself in that game. What about the fourth quarter brings out the best in your game?
The fourth quarter is go time. Like, it's game time. Like, we, like, especially, like, before the fourth quarter comes, we always say the last 10. And the last 10 determines the game. So the last 5, the last 2 minutes, it doesn't really matter. But if you put everything that you have into those last 10 minutes, then you can come out with a W.
Now, when I watch you, I can see the fire and passion in your face when you're taking the ball to the basket. What kind of brings out that tenacity in you?
Just from where I'm from New York, Brooklyn. Every day I walk onto the court and I have just the mindset that I'm gonna go for anything that's in front of me. Like, and whoever that opponent is, I feel bad for them.
Now you have Rhode Island coming up on Sunday. Last time you played them, you had half the team's points in the fourth quarter, leading to a 21-point career night for you. What do you think the team's mindset is heading into that one?
It's still the same mindset as before. It really doesn't matter who's on the court, who's not playing. We just have to win.
All right, thank you for taking time to talk with us, Asia.
Switching sides to the men's team, Kyle Lofton and the Bonnies in action Tuesday night as they faced off against St. Joe's. Lofton had himself a night. We picked things up in the second half. Bonnies up 2 when Lofton buries a triple, capping an 8-0 run to start the half. Lofton doing it again from deep. He had 20 points on the evening, tying a team high matched only by Justin Winston. The freshman hits the dagger with 4:52 to play, and the Bonnies coast to a 74-56 win in Philly and improve their record to 17-8 as they move into third place in the A10. And it's going to be rocking in the RC tonight as the Bonnies welcome in Davidson for the second year in a row in a whiteout game. Tip-off on ESPN2 against the 12-11 Wildcats is set for 7 o'clock. And while Mark Schmidt's current team is on a 5-game winning streak, one of his former players is continuing to make the program proud. It was announced on Wednesday that former point guard Jalen Adams was named to the USA basketball qualifying roster for the FIBA AmeriCup. The U.S. kicks off its qualifying tournament with Puerto Rico February 23rd in D.C. Adams is averaging just over 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game for the Milwaukee Bucks affiliate, the Wisconsin Herd. Adams also earned G League Player of the Month for January, and he was also named to the Eastern Conference midseason All-G League team. That's all the time we have for SBU-TV Sports. Back to you, Maddie and Rob.
Thanks, Tommy. I'm Rob Barbieri, and that's all we have this morning. Remember to stay up to date with all of us, all of our social media platforms, and to bundle up this weekend. It's supposed to be a chilly one.
It is supposed to be chilly. And I'm Madeline Edwards. I hope you all have a very happy Valentine's Day weekend.